Well, good evening. Welcome to the July 12th, 2022 Conservation Board for the Town of Penfield. Our meeting tonight has with us, first of all, I'm Jim Almstead, and we are joined by Jeff Bartocci, Daniel Moore, Pat Schickler, Paul Sugnett. We have Catherine Dubrecht here with us tonight from our planning department. Did I leave anybody out?
No.
Okay, good. So welcome aboard, everyone, and hope you all had a great 4th of July and had a chance to take in some of the community activities. Tonight, we'll start with our approval of minutes, and I know, Catherine, the minutes were prepared by you, but in concert with what Doug Sangster left you.
Yes.
So he filled in for you last time.
Yes, he did.
Did anyone see any concerns with the minutes? And so I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And hearing no objections, we thank you again, Catherine, for putting this together. I assume you had to do this by watching the video.
That's okay. I filled in what I missed, so.
You didn't pay enough to Doug to have him actually write it up for you.
No.
Yeah.
So, Jim,
Yeah.
was curious, because it wasn't here last time, about the invasive species week. The first paragraph, the concern about 25 Willow Pond.
Yeah, actually, Daniel, did you get a chance to follow up on that Willow Pond request?
So when I went over to see it, I think I went to the wrong place because it all seemed fine. So I will definitely go back, and because I see the address here now, is that I can go back and go to the proper place this time.
Yeah, that request came in from Ed Linskog, and Ed has been, I think, watching us right along and used to be a regular at our meetings, and we miss having him here with us, but appreciate the fact that he's following us. So if you can make contact with him, that would be terrific. By the way, I've been wondering, Bert gave us kind of a last-minute notice that he couldn't be here, and I was wondering if it had anything to do with the fact that there was a last-minute addition to the roster at the British Open. Does anyone have any information?
It hasn't started yet.
He took a quick ticket over there.
Well, just saying, my suspicious mind at work.
Before we jump on to the next, Daniel, Megan Myers said that she'd be happy to come and work with you and, any conservation board members that wanted to go to identify the invasive species, but she had also mentioned another area that could also use some work. One of the parks, I just don't remember which one offhand at the moment, that had some invasive species.
Oh. Wouldn't be Shadow Pines by any chance.
I'm not sure if it was, I don't want to say because I don't remember. It was not Shadow Pines. It was actually one of our current, existing parks where some species were taking over some areas. And so I guess my concern is, as I recall on that property at, what's the name of it again?
Willow Pond.
Willow Pond, is that it's currently owned by Willow Pond. So whatever we do, we would be working on something that's owned by that business rather than town-owned. Even though they're talking, I don't know if they're talking about trying to transfer it.
I think, as I remember our conversation, I think they were just hoping maybe they'd get some scout help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not owned by the town
Yeah.
at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Who owns it? I mean, it's not an HOA.
Great question. Looks like the owner is just Legacy at Willow Pond LLC.
So is that true of most common areas?
I think so. Sort of like common space by the property, like maintenance folks, unless they.
So
I
we have
guess-
a pretty good common space in Penfield Gardens. And I always assumed it was the town's.
That one might be different. What, do you know the address? Or
No, it's off of Foxbourne. So if you went to Foxbourne, so go to my house, 68 Foxbourne. Boy, I just assumed.
Yeah, I didn't know.
So what if, because there is no, at Willow Pond, the same as Foxbourne, Penfield Garden, there is no association. There's nothing, who's insuring it?
If someone gets injured.
Forget the
Yes, if the
main-
scouts get injured cleaning it
Forget
up,
the
what are they to do?
maintenance.
right.
I'm just curious.
Is it like right
Yeah.
here?
So it's a big collection basin.
Because it
This-
is a number of acres at Willow Pond. as
This
far
one
as-
is the town.
Okay.
Oh,
So I guess it just depends where it is, if there's like a drainage easement or something.
Okay.
Okay, so next on our agenda, do we have any communications, Catherine?
Just a quick one. I just wanted to share, I guess, out to the public, and if you folks have any family members or you're interested in a part-time job, there's a lot of openings at Town Hall and DPW. Lots of opportunities with the town of Penfield if you're looking for a job.
So that would be penfield.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, they're all up there.
And, yeah. So, yeah. But these are all part-time summer jobs, are they, or?
It's a mix.
Uh-huh.
So part-time,
Okay.
full-time, seasonal, permanent. Just depends on the department and what they're looking for. That's
Always
it.
thought I'd like to drive one of those plows, you know, and just knock over everybody's mailbox and.
Sure.
Yeah.
They replaced mine this year.
Yeah. Well, see, it's,
Yeah, I was out in Tucson. My
it
son
it guarantees you a job in the spring. You say you go back and
They took care of it
replace
right
them.
away.
There you go. Job security.
Right. Okay, our first discussion item here is Tree City. And as you all know, I've been sending out copious communications with thoughts about the possibility of presenting a draft proposal to the town board for code or what's the other word I'm trying to think of here?
Ordinance.
Ordinance. Thank you, Paul. And to move this along, I think we're at a point right now where we need a small group to meet with some town staff and see what we all believe is actually possible. I've put together proposals that are pretty aggressive, and I think there'd probably be some problems carrying out some of my thoughts. So Paul has agreed to join me, and we're hoping to perhaps add Bert to that group. And we'll meet with the town staff to include our town engineer and head of planning and our DPW director, and make sure that what we're proposing actually can be done here in the town of Penfield. So what we'll do is keep the board apprised of our conversations and see if we can move this process forward. I would very much like to finish this off this year, and obviously we're asking for a lot from the town in order to preserve trees to the extent that I've proposed. So I think some of those things probably are unrealistic, and it's time to find out what the town staff believes they can actually pull off. So we'll continue to keep you apprised of our discussions. With respect to Tree City, it's clear that the town board would like us to continue to pursue that. So what we did this spring, I think, was a great start with our planting program, and all of you who were involved in that, I congratulate you for the job that you did. Everybody really pitched in on that. We'll see what we can do to move this whole process forward. I guess what I want to do now is recognize the fact that Daniel has come to us today with some things that he's researched with respect to what other conservation boards are doing and what they see to be their mission. And I'd like to ask Daniel to speak to that, because on our discussion items today, we have the future goals of the board and possible work session dates. And we don't have a very hefty agenda here for tonight, so I think we can get a head start on looking at what we would like to be the mission statement for the Conservation Board and what we'd like to see our future direction look like. And I'd like to start, Catherine, if you can you pull up on the town website what we currently describe for the Conservation Board? And because I didn't bring my distance glasses or my binoculars, could you read that for us?
I'm in the same position.
Yes, the website says the Conservation Board provides an environmental review of a construction project application submitted to the town of Penfield. The board conducts a review of the property and issues an advisory report related to environmental protection and management. This report is submitted to the lead agency of said project, such as the town board, planning board, or zoning board of appeals.
Okay, and
And then also says it's a 9-member body that meets first Tuesday of every month at 7.
yeah, and our current position is that we are currently at 7 members, and I think I've recommended to the town board that seems to be the right number. Does anyone disagree with that for the present?
Well, I think, not for the present, but depending on what the results of our goals and, how was this worded, for future goals, that it might, but at present, it seems reasonable, but future depends what we feel that we want to try to accomplish.
And obviously, the town board can adjust that if they care to, but I think right now we're operating at 7, and that seems to be pretty good for the number of activities that we're currently engaged in. So Daniel, why don't you go ahead and explain to us what you put in front of us here?
So starting with the one that has little to no words on it with Penfield handwritten on the top. So this is currently what the conservation where in the code of Penfield says that we can. So it says Conservation Board may be established by resolution of the town board pursuant to town law 51 subdivision 5. The number of Conservation Board members and chair shall be at discretion of the town board. So right now it just seems like as Jim and I were having a discussion before the meeting that there's no requirement to have a conservation board because we listen to, there's no discussion for a conservation board, but like that we listen to the town and the town listens to the state. So, but after looking that up, I looked at other towns in the area, such as the town of Brighton, which has at the beginning, at the top of the page, chapter 223, and also with Arundecoits, which at the top of the page says chapter 12. So within that, I looked and basically copied and pasted a lot of information, changing up the word just to like make it look nicer. And I created a draft of what the town of Penfield's conservation board, what the powers that we could do. And looking through both like all of the towns, a lot of this is what we do already, but it would just be in writing. And so, for example, if you go to the second page, point F, it says review each application received by the town board, a building department, planning board, zoning board of appeals. And so we already do write reports when we deem fit that relate to the conservation and preservation of our town. So that's about it, where I just changed up the numbers so it fit our code.
Consistent with, yeah. So I guess the precursor to this was the discussion we had this spring.
Yes.
Which started with our website and just the description of the conference, how weak it was. And possibly we should have a mission statement and enhance that. What Daniel has done is taken it to the next step and talked about what's written law, which is wonderful. Thank you. So we have this upcoming workshop that we have to discuss which date we want to go with, which we would touch on the website and discuss a mission statement. Discuss what should be in the body of that website, right, as far as description.
Yes,
And
yes.
this could be part of, we might glean some of this from that, but this is also another piece in itself.
Yes.
That would have to go to the town for approval.
But because as it stands now, we currently have the ability, hopefully, to say this is our mission and these are other things we'd like to have in the website. And this would, as you said, it's a whole other level that would require, I don't know what town board approval, I imagine, or what things would have to be gone through. But it's not to say that it shouldn't be worked on as well. But I guess I would still go back to wanting our input to say what our mission is first and what our goals are, and make sure that what we present to or suggest to the town board be consistent with what we all feel.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I threw out an outline for that workshop in an email, and we would probably add this to that outline, to that suggested agenda.
Can you pull up what Paul sent us?
Yeah, sorry,
I will try. Not sure if my email will work, but one second.
we haven't settled on a date yet, right?
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So that's something we have to discuss tonight, right?
Yes.
I think there are 4 dates out there.
Yeah.
Yes, that's just for this room. There's a standing reservation for this room from 6 to 9, so it doesn't need to be the whole time. But there's August 9th, August 23rd, August 30th, and September 27th. Those would be in here. If
And
you'd like
these
some.
would be work sessions which would not be televised.
Correct.
Not that we're trying to keep people away, you're welcome to join us here, but it probably won't make for great TV. So they will be work sessions open to the public but not televised.
So I think I came back with, I'm good with any of those dates. I think Roseanne came back with a couple dates.
Yes, she said she could do August 9th and or August 23rd.
So 9th or 23rd, Daniel?
And they're all Tuesdays.
The 9th would probably work best since I am in Maine from August 14th through 20th, and I probably have to go back to school around that time too.
August 9th is okay with me.
August 9th will work for me. The other dates are subject to change because I have an Australian grandson who's, I think, going to be visiting us at some of those other dates.
Yeah. So let's just focus on the 9th.
Yeah.
Jeff?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able
And
to,
then if we ever need it,
Finish.
we could fall back and do the September one as
Yeah.
a follow-up if necessary.
But between what Daniel's put in front of us and your outline, Paul, I think we've got a good start on our work session. So I guess I would encourage people to spend some time with what Daniel has given us. Spend some time with the outline that Paul has suggested, and we'll use that.
well, if you all are going to be working subgroup with the town,
Correct.
would we,
I think we're just going to focus on one.
yeah, okay. I was going to say.
And so we'll add to this, what is this called? What, I'm sorry I'm being ignorant, but
Daniel-
what Daniel came up with comes from.
What would you call it?
This would be like a draft with
I know,
the
but it comes
You look
from
code.
what?
Like a code update?
So that's the
It would-
code where he drew this from?
Yes.
This one page here is from our code.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So we would add code update is another item.
Oops. Let me just paste this into a new Word document and we can add to it.
Daniel, would you be okay with changing intent to be mission? Is that what you're trying to write here as a mission statement?
Yeah, that's easy enough to do because I just basically copied and pasted everything,
Sure.
so.
Yeah, if we decide that's what we want, then that's what I can see put on the website. As in, under our name as opposed to just in the, you follow me?
This whole thing would have to be approved from the town board.
Oh, yeah,
so-
absolutely.
Yeah, if it
Yeah, there'd
becomes
be
code, it's
public
obviously gonna be
hearings and-
something the board has to agree to.
So are we good with these 4 items? Review town website,
Here,
develop mission statement, which may be this intent.
Oh, thank you, Catherine.
Yeah,
Develop goals and code update, which is Daniel's document. Did I miss anything there?
On our goals, and maybe this would just be part of doing it and go, is something that goes without saying in terms of long range versus short range, would it just be inherent that when we're discussing goals, we would just identify them that way?
Possible. I was thinking pretty broad as opposed to specific,
Yeah.
but there could be some specific short-range goals. We've just never had them. So,
Well, because I know Jeff and I are, at some point in tonight's agenda, we're going to discuss some things that might be considered some short-range goals, so.
Yeah.
just a thought is community outreach, and that might be a goal as opposed to a,
I think we're doing a pretty good job of working on that already. I think that's started.
But
We need to enhance it
to state it and have it in
and state it.
writing.
You know, because if we go back and look at,
those goals might be below the mission statement on the website.
if we go back and look at what we did with the event last year, that was all about getting the community involved. And when you look at what you and I have been working on, that's about getting the community involved. So I think we're in a pretty good head start there.
And working with other groups within the community, like as to Bert, I'll channel Bert, since he's not here, as saying, we don't always know what other groups are doing. And one thing that Jeff has started talking, the pollinator garden is like, hey, wait a minute, there's groups working on that, which is what we'll speak of tonight. And so that might be, they're part of our community, other groups within our community.
That actually does bring into what I kind of worked on, because one of the goals and one of the responsibilities, or powers per se, is that we do have discussions with other groups where I've not sure where it was.
Oh, I was just going to ask you that.
Oh, right there. Let's see. There's point I on the
It's G,
second.
is it G?
G and also I, where G would be like seek to coordinate, assist, and unify efforts in private groups, institutions, along with other groups, because a lot of the things that I said, like with Jim that said last time, a lot of ideas that I have correspond with the Energy and Environment Committee. So within this draft code, it would be that we would have, like, we would be able to collaborate more freely with the groups with our part of our responsibilities.
Are there more steps under number 2, which we know? Okay.
Yes, I'll scroll down. I think all of this would fall under that first
workshop,
meeting, yeah, with the workshop, but also meeting with like engineering and
that's what I meant,
DPW and,
There's 2 workshops now.
yeah. So that one with staff to figure out what's.
Right, no,
what's
I know. I
doable.
didn't know if there was anything below number 2
Oh,
as
yeah.
far as,
And then actually, I know you mentioned the EPOD review update.
okay, so that would be a number 3?
That would be a number 3, because this is something Jim sent out afterwards.
I did, I saw that, yeah.
I'll fix the formatting later, but
And Jim, what are we suggesting there?
On which? The EPOD review?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's currently code of the town of Penfield. And I just wanted people to review it to see the extent to which we not only protect the trees in woodland EPODs, but we also do definitely involve the Conservation Board in the process. So when I was arguing that there may be properties that are not protected by EPODs that need similar tree protection as potential development sites, that's why I wanted people to review the lengths that we go to protect trees in EPODs, and do we want to offer some protection to trees on properties that are obviously targets for development that are not in woodland EPODs. That was my whole purpose in asking people to review.
I think that discussion belongs in both workshops.
Probably does,
So we should add it to our workshop so we're on the same page.
right?
And how would we incorporate it into the Tree City?
It might come
when
under
we,
So it should
when
be
we
in
do
both workshops.
finally agree on what we want to present to the town board as a potential draft for tree protection, we'll work on that, so.
At the least, it would be probably your heritage trees.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
Well, I say, hopefully,
right,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's add E to this, which is the EPOD discussion. And we do the same, I think, as opposed to a number 3. Now, the EPOD
True.
would be a
Got it.
part of 2 as well.
got it.
Maybe that becomes whatever.
So number 2 is really going to be a whole separate group and workshop.
Yeah, we did want to have a big group
Sure.
with all these ideas and then throw
it's
something
harder-
over the
harder
fence
to,
and let them disseminate it, throw it back over the fence. It's
Right.
like, let's just make it small and try
Sure.
to hammer it out
Sure.
together.
Now, will you bring it back to the whole Conservation Board
Yeah,
before
of
saying
course.
it's okay?
Oh,
Of course, because
Okay.
eventually this will be the work product of the Conservation Board, but recognizing that we have to work with town staff
Of
in
course, yeah.
engineering, planning, DPW. So what Paul and I are going to do, and we're hoping to get Bert to join us, would be to just make sure that what we're proposing is doable, within
yeah, it's
the
a better,
structure of
Yeah,
the town
for-
of Penfield.
For example, the Brighton tree code it's a great, like, on paper document, but I've heard that in practice, it's very difficult with staff. Like, it's very manual, and they just don't have, like, the resources, and they're kind of tied to it now because it's the law.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our DPW is a lot smaller, and so we just want to make sure that what's in there is possible.
Yeah, exactly.
But can you also look at something that's like just absolute would be really, good? I mean, would it influence to say, well, maybe it's something that's so important that it would be a reason to enhance staff?
Yes, but I think right now we're having the issue of just getting staff to the numbers where
Oh,
should
that you're
be.
supposed to have. Okay,
Yeah, like
okay.
minimum. That's why there's so many
Gotcha.
spots open.
Okay.
But yeah, in the future, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I don't know what offhand, but I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there would be something that's just so, it's like, oh, we just don't want to give this up, and
Mm-hmm.
could it be, like, would it be a future thing? or something like
Compromise,
that?
figure that out. Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, just look at the first item under review, which is discuss this tree city minimums, but in that minimum is spending $2 per capita. That might be because of what we come up with. We might have to staff it. That might be where that money comes from.
Well, this being a community of only around 40,000 people, I got to believe we're already spending $80,000 on maintenance
Yeah,
of
it's
the trees in
probably-
the town, so.
It's probably listed under some
Yeah.
under other moniker and
Yeah.
not tree
Yeah.
items.
I think we hit that. We just have to, I know that there were some like preliminary investigating the budget to see like what we have that fits under there, how they categorize it. But definitely we got to finalize that and see. I think we hit that minimum easy.
When we were in that meeting, Jim, you and I, and
Right.
Catherine and the town, they were
Right.
kind of rattling off some numbers that really, it sounded like we
Yeah.
did hit that, and that wasn't going to be an issue.
Just got to
Is a rose is a rose by any other name, right?
Yep.
So it's,
got to figure out how we break it up and how to make it fit that Arbor Day Foundation, how they break it up.
Where do we stand, Catherine, with respect to Mark Valentine coming to speak with us?
Yep, he said he's.
We were aiming at September. Is that going to be a good date for him, or?
Yes, he said he'd be happy to join. We did not reach out to Kelly with the county yet, but I'm sure I've asked her in the past, and she said she'd be happy to come out to speak that would be at no cost too. So yeah, but just chatting briefly, Mark's definitely happy to come speak about stormwater.
And has
kinda-
Marie made a decision on the EEAC joining us in a
Yes.
joint meeting?
I did follow up with her on that, and because EEAC is, Marie's like the head of it, but it's
Yeah.
kind of back-end run by Sarah Waterman, who's our new sustainability engineer. She's out on maternity leave right now, so Marie would feel more comfortable doing that, like figuring out a date once Sarah's back.
Which
So just kind of put on hold
would
for
put
a
us
little bit.
fairly late in the year, would it?
Probably like September at least.
Okay,
it's not bad.
yeah.
Maybe October, but yeah, just because she's not here and it's hard to kind
You know,
of
there's-
work remote with a new
There's an interim
baby.
thing that we could do if she'd be agreeable to it, and that would be to just invite one or both of our former Conservation Board members that are on the EEAC to join us. That would be Bob Canauer and Matt Piston.
Yes, I did mention that, and it sounded like just in general, she'd prefer to wait till Sarah's back.
Okay, you'd rather wait until Sarah's back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mentioned both
Okay.
ideas, and it seemed like just in
Okay.
general, kind of hold off on the joint
right.
meeting for a little bit.
Other thoughts about fall guest speakers? Anybody? Did we make any plans beyond that? I think that's about where we were.
Yep, yeah, it seemed like after last meeting, it was hoping to get Mark and maybe Kelly
Right,
from the county.
I think that's our next,
I wasn't sure if you had ideas beyond that, or just wanted to kind of target a fall one and then revisit
well, that
maybe
kind
more.
of, I always think of September as fall, even though it isn't mostly
That's
technically
true.
fall.
I know. My
Yeah.
birthday
It
is
feels
September
like
5th,
fall.
and
Because
I
it's back
forget
to
I'm in
school
the
month,
summer.
so
Right.
Yeah.
Summer
The
fun is
fall
over.
semester, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel knows that. The fall actually, the fall semester starts in August now, doesn't it?
August 26th.
I always thought that was a dastardly trick. You know, I always felt like it was unfair to go back to school before Labor Day.
Well, during COVID, we had to do 18 weeks straight without any breaks. So
Wow.
it was August all the way to the end of December, and that
And
was
that was
rough.
all,
That's
that
hard.
was all
yeah.
virtual learning too, right?
Yep.
Which really is the pits, but
So maybe, Catherine, for the next meeting, you could resurrect our list of speakers, and we can talk about, is it time, and we'll know whether we can have a speaker for September and start looking at when and who beyond that, because we're not ready to discuss it at this point.
Mark is going to be September.
No, I'm talking
Yeah.
beyond
Oh,
September.
beyond September,
We could,
okay.
because we can start talking, I mean, it takes a while.
Yeah, it
We
is.
started talking about Mark in June, and we're talking
Right.
September, so if it's a 3-month lead, we should start looking next
Sure.
month to see when we want the next person. No, I know Mark was for September.
Sure.
Okay, let's see, I guess, let's ask you and Jeff to talk about what you had
Hold on, can
cooking?
before we get to that, can I
Yeah.
just ask one thing?
Yeah.
So we got an email this week. It sounded to me like in the email that they're expecting a tree planting every year.
From,
From who?
Who sent that?
who sent it?
Oh, I thought it was from you, or maybe it was before.
Oh, I
we-
think I did forward something. I just signed
Yes.
out.
And I wasn't sure who those folks were, but.
That was me forwarding, now I remember. It's been a busy week already, it's only Tuesday. That was just forwarding a municipality, I think it's the village of Westchester, or the town of Westchester, downstate. They created a nice fancy website for planting trees and all of that, so just if you wanted to browse it. But we don't have to have a full-blown planting with 4 trees and all the smaller ones every year. It could be as simple as we plant one in the back of Town Hall. It just has to be a small Arbor Day celebration every year.
You're just
The
sending
point
us
was she was
ideas.
saying- yeah,
Yes.
So she's
Yep.
She's
always
sending us
sharing stuff
ideas.
with us as far as examples.
Yes.
The Tree City requirement is just to
Right.
celebrate Arbor Day.
Yeah, so we could use, if you wanted next year to use Conservation Board funds to just buy like 1 tree and plant it somewhere.
I was just
That
curious
would
because it
count.
sounded like somebody was happy that we got recognized for that, and then they're looking forward to doing it again this year.
Yes. Just not, it doesn't have to be as
Okay.
big. It can be. We just have to find money to buy the 4 big trees because they were $800 total. But yeah, it could be a big event, it could be a small one.
Okay.
It's just what people want to do.
No, so the Westchester part was just an idea, but who was the
Yep.
one that Jeff is talking about as far as it?
Yeah, somebody
That one I think is
somebody was
from last week. The DEC shared an email with, I know I didn't have a chance to respond yet because I was out Thursday and then it's just been chaotic. But they got our information, the town's information from the Urban Forestry Council because they sent us the grant and they saw how successful our event in April was and they're looking forward to working with us through hopefully Tree City and even just future
Okay,
events.
just a general, okay, as a general sort,
yeah.
okay, I
General
recall
kudos.
that now. I recall that. Just highlighting because of the community participation,
Yes.
which we are planning. We'll just have to add something with trees for our future community work.
Yes, good question. Sorry, I'm
No, that's fine.
busy already, only Tuesday.
So are you ready to?
Yeah, so as of last meeting, we realized, Jeff is talking about a native pollinator garden, and I've actually been working with Megan Meyer from Healthy Yards, Monroe County, and so we all met. It's almost been a month ago now, and had a discussion because we wanted to learn some more information and to see what they were doing and collaborate. And see my notes here, Jeff. Jeff, jump in or wherever you want to.
Okay.
'Cause I think we got some basics from them, and I guess they are already working with Penfield town folks to select a spot for a pollinator garden, and we thought that it would be a good idea for at least the two of us and whatever other town board members wanted to participate, and we can bring along and share information, in pieces at these meetings about pollinator garden and what to go forward with it, that we would do that as a learning experience. And Jeff go ahead, you're hoping to bring it to Rothfuss.
Yeah, I was hoping to bring one to Rothfuss Park to coincide with, when we were talking at the meeting, one of the folks that we were talking with had mentioned it might be more manageable for us at this point to do a pollinator meadow, which I totally love that idea. It would be out by the tree grove someplace. And because of the moisture in the water, or the moisture in the land out there, it would be it'd be a good place to put a meadow of pollinators. So because we wanted to start with something smaller in the pollinator garden, we were thinking of putting a smaller one to see how it works out in the park over by the garden, or by the over by the grove
Victory
of
Garden,
trees.
talking about- No, okay, go ahead.
But up by the shelter up there, where the water and the restrooms are. Not too close, but close to it.
Have you run this by the Parks Department?
Well,
We haven't gotten that
Yeah,
far yet.
that's-
We just wanted to present it to here first.
yeah,
and
because the other
actually-
thing was we needed to talk to the Parks Department about the meadow, because there's some things that need to be done with that, and then, where we can put it.
But even before doing the pollinator garden at Rothfuss near the shelter or otherwise, we thought that we would, so this is not immediacy thing as far as planning it, because
Right.
it'll take, but we thought we would partner with Megan's groups to work together so that it would be a learning experience
Yeah,
for us.
so we learned
And
how to understand them.
in the interim, Catherine, we thought maybe we could look to you for perhaps maybe some available grants to apply for planting such things. But they gave us, probably one of our next steps would be is to reach out to Sonnenberg, because they recently planted a meadows garden at Ganondagan. And so, I think we're at the point where we need to talk and figure out what further research or contacts, and you say what you want to know from us. Do you want any of, how much information do you want brought back. Certainly, if we're acting as a conservation board, we would bring it all back, but if you want to have maybe a speaker in, maybe that's a future speaker, somebody talking about a meadow garden. You know, we could do, if it was agreeable to parks to think about that, then that could be a whole lead-in and a community thing about, well, we're going to talk about meadow gardens. Hey, one's coming to Penfield, and, you know, that sort of thing to build it up before it actually happens. But we're just at the gathering
just
information and
brainstorming at
educating
this point,
ourselves.
And then
And that ties in with one of the action items for if the town board is still interested in that Mayor's Monarch Pledge. It's a free program, and you have to commit to at least a minimum of 3 action items. And one of those, I believe, is a pollinator garden. So that could be a case where you start small and maybe just have a little sort of like planter garden with just a few different species, and it's small, and see how that goes next year. And then if that's successful, maybe work with parks and town board and all that to maybe expand it into a meadow garden. But that ties in like
The meadow
really
garden,
well.
actually, it's not so much expanding a pollinator garden into a meadow
Yeah.
garden.
Oh, no,
because
no,
Our
I mean-
understanding was that a meadow
Yeah,
garden
just
is actually easier
Yeah.
than a pollinator garden.
I meant it like expanding the idea, not like physically.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say.
yeah, the meadow wouldn't be a garden. It would be it would
We
be
call it a meadow
just
garden,
Yeah,
a
but,
bunch of different
yeah,
grasses and
grass out
flowers.
there.
And
grasses and milkweed, which attract butterflies. And can you send, I remember you talking and sending something out about the Monarch's Pledge. Was that an email from you? I keep everything you send, but
Yes, but I can share the link out again.
can you do that? Thank you.
So Pat and Jeff, I guess my suggestion would be, before we go down that road much further, you probably ought to make contact with the Parks Department and sit down with them and tell them what your basic ideas are. And, I mean, there's Sherwood Park, which is still relatively undeveloped, and there's got to be some undeveloped land without current planning for, I would think, for Shadow Pines.
Well, we were thinking of Rothfuss because there's a cabin there, because it would be an excellent community outreach opportunity, because, you're talking about undeveloped spaces, maybe for a meadow garden, but in terms of developed spaces, the community would see it.
Yeah.
And also that it would be a building there that whoever does it could eventually be hosting programs for education, kids about pollinator gardens and such.
it would be a nice complement to the tree.
But definitely, you're right
the
about,
grove.
I mean, I think it could be concurrent that
Yeah.
we educate ourselves and reach out to parks at the same time, because it's, and helping Megan, they are already reaching out to, let me see who she wrote and who she had met with, and I don't have their last names, Andrew, Tim, and Sabrina. Are these, I'm assuming these are some of the
Yes.
town employees.
Tim would be Parks, and Andrew and Sabrina would be Rec, like Recreation
Because
Department.
they were looking at the community center, but so she's already been
makes
in
sense,
touch with
yeah.
Tim, and so we would just be hooking on to something that she's already working on.
Yeah.
For our knowledge.
The other thing I was thinking about at this point with doing the meadow or doing the small pollinator garden, and we start these things out in Rothfuss Park, we get the procedures down, we understand how it works. Right now, I'm thinking we're going to be doing some things there anyways because we're going to want to put more trees in the grove out there, and I believe the parks guys said that they really can't develop that because it's kind of damp over there. So we have ideal situation going on there, and then like Pat said, we have the shelter there for training, and then you got the meadow, you got the grove, and then you got the small garden there. It just seems like it's a good place to start.
Sure.
And then, once we get things understood, we can go bigger and better other places.
And for all we know, because they haven't selected a location for their pollinator garden, it could be at, we don't know, could be Rothfuss Park already.
Okay. Sounds like you got some good ideas.
It was a good meeting. Oh, we're not done yet.
No,
The
so-
flower.
So, as you know, I called you from the meeting and asked you if the town had a flower. And apparently, we do not have a town flower.
Okay.
So,
Volunteered to be that flower?
yes. So what we want to do is, like we did with the tree, take 3 or 4 pollinator flowers and let the town vote on a town flower, have it kind of leading up to the events on next Arbor Day. And get a town flower, and then like to start planting some town flowers and making sure that the town flowers are in any gardens and or meadows that we do. Again, you get the little education. It turned out really cool explaining the story and telling everybody about the red maple and the town tree. So we want to try to do the same thing with the flower. Get a town flower.
Do you already have the candidates?
No.
They suggested that they be pollinator flowers and be keystone plants.
Yes.
And the definition escapes me at the moment for the keystone, but they said in the sun plants are like asters, goldenrod, and woodland sunflowers. We need shade plants list. And we thought that a neat idea would be making plugs of whatever flower is or whatever plant is chosen, to see if, like we did a giveaway of seedlings, to do a giveaway of these plugs so that they could plant the town flower, the town plant in their own yard. So expanding that, so these are things. And actually, I'm going to give you this, Catherine. I meant to send it to you. I was sick last week.
No, that's okay.
Well, it
And-
sounds like you were busy anyways, but I've got this written up from the notes that Jeff and I reviewed, and was going to actually formally send it to you and get it on the agenda, but time escaped me. But the next bullet we had down here, we need to get Town Parks Department involved in discussion. See Catherine's input on when to invite Tim Masterson.
Yeah, okay.
That's right in.
Fantastic.
I love it.
That's great.
And with the voting for a town flower, that could also tie in with the mayor's monarch pledge if
Does it?
town board is still interested. Another action item that we could pledge to would be like a social media campaign. So
Flower would
there
do
could
that.
We
be-
want to do anyways.
Yep, so we could work with Chris Tenay, our communications director, who could share out posts about, here's flower choice A, it's this flower, here's some history, monarchs love it, whatever,
Nice.
bees love it.
And then we
do
could,
that with all the different ones, and the plugs, if we
Can get
did that.
grants. I don't know
Yeah,
how
I
much
could
it would
definitely
cost, or
look around
some of
for
our
that
money divided between trees and plugs. And
Yeah, exactly, because another action item is a tree or plant giveaway, which we hit this year already, but if we're interested in doing it next year, you could tie in the pollinator plants or the plugs and do some shrubs and hit
Yeah, so
that
we-
one. So I think it
Yeah, so we could introduce the flower at the next Arbor Day event.
yeah.
And we could do it as a surprise and just buy some and bring them with us and then introduce it at the same time.
Sure, that's a great idea.
And maybe we can, instead of having the one, because they do separate out into sun versus shade, that maybe they can vote on one of each, because some people have all sun. I don't know, but that's just a thought. Because some people have all sun, some people have all shade.
maybe there's moderate ones.
Okay, all right.
Let's get one
okay.
Penfield flower.
All right.
So I have a question. You mentioned goldenrod. I always thought of that as a weed.
They said that, but they said we'd have to, really get in and talk it up and explain it, and
Well,
hence,
You'd have a hard time selling that to me because it's high on my list
To get
of
eradicate.
of allergens.
Yeah.
I am extremely
maybe-
allergic to
maybe that
goldenrod.
won't go on the list.
Yeah, that could just be a
Goldenrod is number one
post.
on my list of allergens, so please don't choose that.
So, well, you'll have to go on a Don't Choose Goldenrod campaign.
Yeah.
Okay, but in any case,
They walk around with my can of weed killer.
so, so we would just
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
select.
So one more thing. I'm not sold on it, but I'm understanding where the recommendation came from. That's something I wanted to talk to you guys and talk to the town.
Parks?
No, the town. Oh my God, I can't think tonight.
Jeff, you're not as old as I am. You shouldn't
Talking
be
about
having these
arborists?
moments.
Yeah,
Arborist.
yeah, who
Who's
does the
arborist?
gardening and
Oh, you mean our
Oh, the consultant,
yes,
Bruce?
Bruce.
Bruce
Yes.
Zaretsky?
So it was recommended that even though I wanted to keep the maple grove, the red maple grove, we may want to put other trees in there in case, in case something happens and they all get wiped out.
You'd
I
be the
don't-
one to know.
What's that?
He'd be the one to know.
So I guess if we wanted to put another tree in there, or we would have to talk to them to figure out how to do that. But
There's
we-
pollinator trees. So for Arbor Day, we could just plant one pollinator tree in there.
There you go.
I went to a class
Two birds.
last month at some nursery on 441.
Yes, the class at Bricola's.
Yeah, I went there. Yeah,
Cool.
it was. But the one thing I would say is it's actually a fall planting for next year. So unless you guys get after it real quick, it's a 2024.
You are correct, because that's why I keep emphasizing, I know Jeff and I, we seem to almost be talking across purposes, but I keep emphasizing that we would work with Megan and her group to learn, because it is, basically, that was our second step. When should they be planted? Get ready in the fall by weeding, laying down cardboard and mulch. Do your design work and plant in the spring. So we're not ready for any of that. So yes, so they are further along, and so, that's, like you said, Jeff, you weren't quite along with the diverse tree thing, and I'm not quite, I'm more of, let's use this coming year to learn and figure out what we're doing, so that next fall, a year from September, we will be laying down cardboard and have our design work ready and know where we're going. And
Makes sense. Makes sense.
You could get all the voting and
yes,
pick the flower, all of that ready by spring, and then
Yes.
have the summer to plan and lay your cardboard in the fall, and then
That's cool.
and it would just be a series. It would be a series of events, because the pollinator garden that they are working on is with the town, and so that would be something else, conservation board members working with them and working with the town, and, now we have this pollinator garden in whatever location, and there would be programs for education, and, the next thing, as you said, Paul, working our way into the town flower and our next Arbor Day event and giveaways, and just keep going to say, and after that is it's like boom, boom, boom.
That's
It's
cool.
just not one and done. It's a continuum.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Got all that?
Some of it. I'll watch the meeting later and
It's another good reason for televised.
Well, we're a crazy bunch, right? So we bounce around
The
sometimes.
ideas are just like,
So I think we're down to other business. Do you have some ongoing projects you want to update us on, Catherine?
Sure. This Thursday is the July public hearing for planning board. There's not a whole lot. There's a subdivision, so they're just shifting some property lines, or they're looking for approval to shift some property lines along Salt Road. So they're not building anything or creating anything new. They just want to kind of shift the lines.
What area are we talking about? Is that the?
It's like 1977, I believe, Salt Road.
Is that the car parts area?
Wilbert's not.
No. It's this area. It's like farmland, so they're just kind of shifting the lines around this area. I can bring the plans up if you would like, but that seems like an easy one. There's also, while I bring those up, there's an application for RG&E to relocate their substation that's on Empire Road, or Empire Boulevard. I can't multitask.
take your time.
So I'll bring this one up and then go back to the Salt Road. So RG&E has, this is Empire and this is Seabury. RG&E has a pump station like here, I think it's right there. They're looking to relocate it to across the street to this 2070 parcel. They want to subdivide the parcel into two, so kind of chop this like tail piece off, and they would put the substation here in this like grassy area of Seabury. So that has had some questions from residents that live along Seabury, but we're hoping to at least have our RG&E consider some aesthetic feedback. So they're looking at a chain link fence with some barbed wire to sort of surround the substation, and we suggested maybe some black fencing that is still deterring people from climbing it, but looks a little less like prison-y.
Yeah.
So that's all going to happen on Thursday.
It's hard to beat black when it comes to being, not
Yeah.
obtrusive.
It'll look
You know,
better and-
it just kind of blends in, but barbed
Especially
wire would be awful, I think.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
with like people living here. It's
Yeah.
not just businesses, it's homes. So I think that should be an easy piece of feedback to consider, but they
Yeah.
are a public utility, so I'm not sure that there would be a denial. I think it's just kind of working together to make it the best for the residents.
Well, I hope you can talk them into the black fencing, yeah.
Yes, I hope so too.
Yeah.
And I'll bring those plans up for that subdivision. The last application that will be before the planning board Thursday for public hearing is a sketch plan for, actually, this is the Salt Road one, so it's kind of hard to see, but there's like a lot line here. They're just kind of shifting it. A lot of the properties are owned by the Rothfuss family, so I think it's just kind of cleaning up the area and who owns what kind of out there. But it'll all still be farms or rural, not necessarily farms. The sketch plan is for 2305 Penfield Road, which a few months ago, some people might have noticed it got kind of clear cut. So that's like Penfield Road and Watson. There's like a New York State group home right next to it, and then there's there were these trees, and then the Fox Hill neighborhoods behind it. So it's this parcel. The property owners would like to, they own this property, they'd like to subdivide it into 3 lots, and they would like to have 2 homes in the front, and then the third, like, flag lot would be developed later. But there's a lot of drainage issues there, so this would be ongoing. So it's just a sketch for Thursday to get kind of feedback on.
How many acres?
It's a great question. It is 2.5. They kind of already cut all the trees down.
So they went ahead and clear cut it, and now they're asking for an application. Uh-huh. It's one of my favorite peeves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The town sort of suggested, well, suggested, didn't sort of suggest, but suggested maybe not doing that right away, just because there's this, I mean, you can even see it in the imagery, where it's just really wet back here, and really the whole parcel is pretty wet. So getting rid of those trees isn't helping.
So that's before they clear cut this picture, right?
Correct. Yep. This imagery is from
So
2021.
it had quite a bit of,
Spring 21. Yeah, and I think they.
quite a bit of
So
trees there.
let me get this straight. The town had suggested prior to the clear cutting,
Yes.
but they went ahead and clear cut anyway.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So is this a project that we have an opportunity to look at?
Sure, you can. It's just a sketch, so it wouldn't be approved or denied. It would just be feedback, but yeah, you can absolutely.
When would it be appropriate for us to look at it? Are we talking another month or 2?
I think so.
Okay.
They'll be in on Thursday, but the step after their sketch would be preliminary final, so there's
Yeah,
definitely time to.
it's so interesting, because one of the points I made in the proposal that I've sent to all of you, which is extremely detailed, particularly deals with this, this whole idea.
Yeah, case in point.
That before you come before the town with an application, you just go ahead and clear cut everything.
Mm-hmm.
It just drives me crazy. So it's one of the things.
And who are the
One
owners
of
of
the
this
things I
property?
want us to talk about.
Oh, that's the old owner. I can't remember their name.
It's okay.
What, do you want to get a lynch mob?
Yeah,
Well, it just.
we don't have a tree, though.
But I can definitely share the
Quality
plans.
That's okay,
development
that's okay, I
depends
don't
on
really need to
quality
know.
planning, okay? And these kinds of things just.
Well, it's a
are
case in point of why we need a tree. Ordinance.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
But I'd be happy to share the plans this week if you'd like to look into it more and provide.
So we could
Input to the planning
lay
board?
off to our next meeting and still be effective?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But in the meantime, you could get out the information to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I can share that this week.
Okay.
And where was their location again?
2305 Penfield Road.
Which is near Watson?
Yep. Yeah.
Just
so
past it.
Watson's. Yep. Watson's. So I guess this would be north, south, east. So east of Watson. Right next to there's like a New York State group home.
It's not my usual haunt, so that's okay.
Oh,
You don't
me
have
either.
to.
But yeah, I'll write a note to send that. Other than that, there's just the usual suspects. The 3 mixed-use projects, they're still ongoing. There might be some decisions made on Thursday for a couple of them, but they wouldn't start building right away. That would be the Arbors and the Penfield Heights projects. The Taco Bell project is moving along towards getting their all their ducks in a row to start building. They won't start building like today or tomorrow. They still need to get some easements squared away, but that one's moving ahead. And
Do they have to tear anything down to build?
nope,
No, okay.
home outlet will still stay there.
What's that?
The home outlet will still be there.
Oh.
They're just
Oh.
kind of cutting the parking lot, and then Taco Bell will build. I can bring it up, but yeah, they're not going to really
Oh, okay.
tear anything down. So they will be kind of like here.
Okay.
But other than that, nothing really crazy. The Chick-fil-A application is still with the planning board. We just got new plans and items from them, so they're hopefully revising things based on town feedback, and that'll still be under review for a little bit, but someday we might have a Chick-fil-A.
Which was the project that was coming there was a public hearing and there was expected to be a lot of neighbor concern? I forget which.
That might have been the group home off of Atlantic and Scribner. That one was approved. So they met all the requirements to be a single-family home, which that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the, it's okay.
But that one got approved. Yeah, pretty quiet.
Okay.
Quiet.
Obviously, with Bert's playing in the open, we won't get the updates from the EMC. Maybe he could phone them
They're
in.
shut down.
Maybe he
They
could
don't-
phone
they
them in
don't-
from St.
They don't meet
Andrews.
during the
Yeah.
summer. They
That's
don't
right,
meet-
they don't meet
June
during the
Okay,
and
okay, well, that's another good reason we won't have the updates.
Yeah.
The update is they're all having fun with their meeting night off.
I hope Bert's watching. So anyway, I think we're nearing the end. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add? Daniel, I can't thank you enough. You've really come through for us. You've put a lot of things in front of us. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, and no objections. So I guess Penfield TV will let you go.
Boy, there sure was.